Test prep does not have to be boring. We know that testing season is stressful, and all of that reviewing and prepping can honestly lead to very boring lessons. So that is why I like to incorporate games into my test prep strategy. It helps to reduce some of that test anxiety, boost up some of that attention, and just keep our students engaged during this time of the year. But don't worry, you know I like to keep things simple. These games are going to be simple, low prep, easy to implement. If you're new around here, I'm Rachel Vincent, and I love sharing ways to help teachers simplify their classrooms and their teaching. Okay, this first game is a quiz style game. You have like a hot seat. There's no real name for it. There are several ways to do it, but essentially it is about reviewing vocabulary. There are so many vocabulary words that go with ELA, geometry, science, and even just like those testing type words like analyze, determine. So any list of vocabulary words will work for this. What you can do is have one student come and sit up at the front of the room, put a word on the board, and then the class has to read the word and then give clues or definitions to the person in the hot seat so that they can figure out what word is being described. So you can do it as a whole class. My students love it when I take the hot seat and they have to try and give me the clues. You can do it as small group, partners, however you want to do it. I like to have the words on index cards or task card type things. If I'm playing with partners or small groups, they just hold the word up to their head, kind of like the heads up game from the Ellen DeGeneres does. And so if you hold a group of them, like if it's going to be sort of fast, they can just pull the word down, and how many ever words you get for that time limit wins if you're doing winning. However you want to do it, it's real simple. I actually have a whole list of ELA words that are perfect for test review for all of the different like summarize, main idea, central idea, all ready for you in my TPT store if you want to grab that link to make it even easier for you. But like I said, it's fun, engaging, keeps those kids thinking about all of those different words that they need to know for state testing, and simple, low prep. The next game is called Trash Get Ball, and it essentially you just need some sort of set of questions. So if they get the answer right, they get to shoot a piece of crumbled up paper into the trash can. And that's it. So when we're doing some sort of test prep, I don't want my students just to like, no, you got it wrong. Yes, you got it right. And then just move on. So if they get it right, they might get 2 points, and then they get to go shoot the trash for an additional point. If they get it wrong, then they go back and try again to get their chance to still shoot the trash. Because really that's what they really want to do, is shoot the trash and not answer the questions, but the goal is to answer the questions. You can do it as a whole class where you have the questions on the board and divide them up into teams, and that's how you do it. You can do it again as a group, partners, individual, however you want to do it. That's what I love about these games, is they are so flexible to fit whatever you need for your students at the time. Maybe you just know they're a little rowdy that day, they can't handle a class competition, but maybe individually they'd be okay, or just save it for the next day. It's just flexible to use with any type of test prep. The next one is also really simple, which is 4 corners, where you label each corner A, B, C, or D. We know that most test questions are multiple choice. What I like to do is give them whatever test prep we're using, sample questions, passages, whatever we're using, have them answer the questions ahead of time, and then we play the game as a class so that they are not just going to the corner that they see the most of the class going to. They actually have their answers in front of them, so then it's like, okay, let's read question number 1. Go to the corner that you chose as your answer. And so this kind of eliminates some of that. Of course, there's always going to be students who will choose what everybody else is doing, but at least it is on the paper what they actually chose. I really like this because if we have a pretty good split between like B and C, we can discuss why half the class thinks it's that, because often there are answer choices that both could be right, but they're always looking for the best answer choice. Again, for the 4 corners, you just need to label your corners A, B, C, and D, and you just need some sort of test prep type of questions. Scoot is always a fun game to play. There are tons of task cards out there, or you can take your pre-made test review questions that may come from your state department or your district and cut them up and put 1 question on each desk, and students scoot around the room answering the questions. We like to put ours in the hallway too, or along the walls, just to get kids up and moving. They're reviewing, but they're moving their body body so they don't feel like it's just that like sit and work on something. Another one that I like to incorporate when it is a question that tends to have a lot of steps is to do some sort of relay game where you divide the class into smaller groups. So the marker, the dry erase marker, becomes sort of like the baton that they're passing. So the first person will do one step, the second person will do the next step, and so on and so forth. This works well for like long division, multi-digit multiplication, multi-step word problems, anything that has multiple steps. I always tell my students when they're playing that if they see the person before them or somebody make a mistake, they are allowed to take their turn to fix the mistake instead of adding on to the next step so that they have the opportunity to keep going, because sometimes you can't keep going if a mistake was made. So I give them that option of instead of doing the next step, they can fix the mistake and then pass the baton. I don't do these every single day during our test prep review. I tend to do like either an every other day. I definitely will do, if they really enjoy the game, I might do it more often, but I try to spread it out so they don't lose the novelty of the game and it keeps them still engaged when I bring it back around. I try to have them focus on answering the questions first and then playing the game. And if you really need to up the ante, think about like maybe small incentives, extra recess. Their points can mean something. You could add it to dojo points if you do that. Anything to kind of help motivate your students during this time of the year. The past couple of years, I've done this thing called the Great Space Race. And I called it that because our hallway was space themed. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that this year or not, but I divided them into teams and they're earning points for their teams, and it lasts over several weeks leading up to testing. And so they not only get game points, but they earn points for remembering to return things because a lot of that tends to slack off during that time of the year. They earn points for showing work, for participating, different things like that. And I kind of sort of create this whole gamified atmosphere around all of our test prep. That's something that you don't have to do. It's just something that a little extra step I like to add to that. If you're interested in some of these resources, I will be sharing them with my email list. If you're on my email list, you will be getting some of these. So I will leave a link below for you to join my email list if you're not already part of that. Remember, you don't have to do any of these, or just try one to try this year, see how it goes, add in another one next year, or try a couple. If you want even more review games, that's right, that will go with any content, check out the video that's on your screen now.